Welcome back. I'm joined here by Lee Dean Smith and Trevor Quickshot Henry to break down our first match where Fnatic got the best of the Copenhagen Wolves. And guys, with the new patch coming in, if we look at picks and bans, the most noteworthy must have been the Ashe.
Yeah, first Ashe all year for Europe, so trying to pull out a new champion. I had hoped to see an Essence Reaver if the game had gone that long. I do think it can work on Ashe, but unfortunately, the rest of the comp just didn't really back up the late game scaling. You had Ashe and Kayle, that worked very well late game. Lee Sin, Renekton worked very well early game, but it just didn't really come together for the Copenhagen Wolves, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the late game, of course, you look at it, like you said, they had the Kayle in there, Ashe. Everybody needs a long time. They had Lee Sin, which could have sped things up maybe for them, but the fact is they went into fights too early, as Deficio mentioned during the cast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe that comes from almost winning versus Alliance last week and then having that confidence, and they try to make it all happen early.
Yeah, they really did go out of their way. I actually really like their lane swap dragon bait. Very early on, they picked up a first blood onto Yellowstar thanks to moving around the map quite efficiently and almost reading Fnatic very well. But the mistake they made is they picked fights at the inopportune times. The first replay that we've got, which we can actually pull up onto your screens right now, is that game-changing dragon fight. The Copenhagen Wolves roll this clip out. They start the dragon very early on. They're grouped quite tightly. But what I like about Fnatic is they're confident about the team fight. And look at Peke and Soaz on the top half of this map. They're zoning everyone away. As Fnatic are chasing the members of the Wolves through the pit, Soaz is right there to catch them off, to zone them out. And just a very aggressive flash over the wall from Cyanide to help pick up kills. Every single time the Wolves made a play for any objective or members of Fnatic, it got counted and read very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then someone who was at the better end of those trades was Reckless in this one, someone we did talk about a lot. And as what you've seen here, the way he played his Lucian, he said it just makes me be more aggressive. What do you make of his play? Yeah,
it was good to talk about because, or good to hear him saying it, because we've been saying it for a good few weeks now. I know, harping on about how he's been a passive player, and the fact that he knew it himself, he's been mentioned it, and he's obviously been comments about it, and he's reacted so well to it. Like you said, trying to find his trust point, how deep he can go, because last thing he wants to do is switch from completely passive to full-on aggressive and then start feeding.
Yeah, but of course, you're only as good as your support, and I gotta say, Yellowstar, even though he gave up first blood, very good performance here by him.
Number one, not cool, because he's on your fantasy team. Number two, Yellowstar hit every single death sentence he wanted to.
Yeah.
What I was very interested to see in this game was how both Yellowstar and Unlimited were working towards their itemization choices. And Yellowstar in particular, because of the changes to Mikhail's Crucible on 4.10, he actually picked up a very early Ruby Sightstone. He rushed Talisman of Ascension, which we don't normally see on Thresh. Then he went Ruby Sightstone, had the makings of maybe a Randuin's and a Sunfire Cape with a Giant Spell and a Chain Vest. So he was going super beefy, super tanky. And it wasn't something I was anticipating because of just the changes to Crucible.
And you could also look at towards the jungle of Kyle. Cyanide went with the Frozen Heart instead of the Randian's Omen. So we're seeing changes across the board. Obviously 4.10, a lot of teams got a lot of time to sort of settle into 4.10. There's a heck of a lot of changes in 4.10 that they're going to pick up on the first week. It's already showing very good signs.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe then as final, because you say there are so many changes. Trevor, what is one in this game that you found particularly noteworthy?
So I do think the teleport play was quite interesting between the top laners. We did see the teleports not necessarily impacting team fights as much as we have in the past because of the higher cooldowns during the laning phases. And I do believe that Soaz was working his way towards the Ardent Sensor, which is the new mana-based item, which is, in theory meant to be towards supports. But I'm personally going to be watching the top 80 carry and supports for all of today to see these new items, how they're picking up, and more importantly, in what order. What is the new pro level must absolutely have in each of those roles?
We can write it down and we go to solo queue and win. All right, now let's head back to Joe and Deficio at the desk for our next game.
Thank you very much, guys. Our next match has first place Alliance looking to keep control of the top of the table as they take on the third place Millennium. And again, Alliance showed us that they are the best team in Europe right now. Another 2-0 week, including a win over their closest rivals, SK Gaming, shows that Alliance really are ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and one thing they do so well is they always mix up the comps and the play style they use. I mean, look back to London. They played a Siege comp against Copenhagen Wolves, and then they played a pick comp against SK Gaming, and it's so hard to prepare playing against Alliance because you never know what they're going to pull out. Froggen, for example, he played Yasuo, which is a champion that's been banned against him quite sometimes last split. 2 times this split only here. But he's also played Anivia, he's played Lulu, like he's playing so many different kind of champions. You never know what he's actually going to pick. And Froggen, He knows every single matchup in his head, so he can always have a counter pick ready for whatever you're picking against him.
And on the other side, when I talk about Millennium, I kind of feel like a broken record, but it's hard not to talk about their inconsistencies. There's two very different teams that can turn up to games, and it's almost impossible to predict which version of Millennium are going to show themselves today.
And we saw two very different versions of Millennium in London. First game against Rocket, where they did nothing. Yep. And then against Fnatic on day 2, where they just did everything, and it was completely different teams to see. I mean, against Fnatic, they picked up 5 out of 7 Dragons, they picked up 2 out of 2 Barons, and took 10 towers. Against Rocket, they only got 2 Dragons out of 5, not a single Baron, and only picked up 3 towers the entire game long. And they played so passive. And one of them is actually Curb in his mid lane here. It's a bit weird with him, because against Fnatic, he only had 148 CS. But that's because he was killing people. He was making plays. Where against Rocket, where he fell behind and he had to farm, he actually had 201 CS at 20 minutes. So it's weird how it's bad for Curb to have a lot of CS. It's good for him to have low amounts, because then he gets kills instead.
Kind of difficult to predict what
it's very weird.
Gonna do,
Curb is special.
One thing that we can say, though, is that when the right Millennium team shows up, they look absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, the team stats for Millennium are great. I mean, they're the team in Europe with the most kills. They're tied for second most Dragon, and they have taken out the most inhibitors in the EU LCS. So while they might be inconsistent, they're still getting the wins. And they're now third place with 7 and 5. If they win here, they extend the leaders again towards Fnatic, who's of course trying to catch up to them this week.
And Millennium feels like they've definitely, and I would agree with them on this, benefited from the addition of Cotton X in the jungle. But the focus for them in this game is a 1 versus 1 between Kevin and Wicked in the top lane.
Alliance right now one of the strongest teams. The rotations they have and just the team play they have, it's just awesome. And to play against that and to win against that is just a motivation boost for us.
I think Millennium is who they are right now. They don't play with rotations, they don't really play any fancy stuff. They very much just play like a solo queue game and then trying to add their different play styles together.
We're still trying to figure out the best way to play the game for our team, what fits us the best, and I think we are on the good way to achieve something like this.
Right now we are in a good spot actually to get into the top 3, top 2. As soon as we had Cotton X, everything improved. We played way better, we had good synergy, we played really good in scrims as well.
I'm happy that people like my performance and that I actually am a good addition for the team and a positive influence.
I love playing against people that like to 1v1. For example, I like playing against Kevin a lot because we have 2 of the same viewers somewhat, and we just go fight 1v1 all the time, which is a lot of fun.
I'm always excited to face him 1v1, it's an exciting matchup. And if he's on his top, it's always a really strong opponent, which I have to take care of.
It's not like they are unbeatable or something like this, but it's going to be a really hard matchup for us. And I think that we're not going to try to surprise them or something like this. We're just going to play solid standard and just try to win.
And I think Creator nailed it when he says it's not like they're unbeatable.
True.
2 teams have done it so far, but 10 teams have lost to them. Alliance are a hard team to predict and to beat right now.
Very hard. I actually like what Froggen said himself about Millennium, how they just play pretty much a solo queue game, which is why the pick comp always work for them, because they just action everywhere fights, and the rest of the comps don't really work for them. They need to work a little bit on it. But I definitely think if they get the right picks here, they can win the game.
Well, we'll see in a moment what comps they actually go with, but first we're going to check out the starting lineups on the blue side. First of all, with Alliance. They are, of course, Wicked in the top lane, Shook in the jungle, Froggen in the mid lane, Tabs the AD carry, and Nif the support.
And on the red side, we do have Millennium. Kevin is in the top lane. We have Cotton X as the jungler. Curb in the mid lane, of course. Kreaton as the AD carry. And Jerry is his trustworthy support.
And that brings us to our featured matchup today, which takes place between Tabs and Kreaton, 2 AD carries who have looked very strong lately. And we've just seen, and we all know that 4.10 is kind of heaven for the AD carries.
Yeah, I think everyone will agree. These 2 AD carries have looked like 2 of the best ones in Europe lately. And the weird thing is, none of them are the superstars on the team. Everyone talks about the mid lane as Froggen against Curb here, yet these 2 AD carries always pull up big numbers and they can always help carrying the team. And we just see, I mean, both of them, they're top 4 KDA, and pretty much every match we see, once they get a good start, they just take the team on the back and say, you know what, let's win this game.
We'll see the 5th most kills in the LCS for Kreaton, 2nd for Tabs. Both have played Lucian the most in this one. So it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. We'll see if that 1v1 in the top lane happens and if our featured matchup goes head-to-head in the bottom lane. That's, of course, coming up here shortly. The teams, though, are about to pick those champions. So let's take a look at the voting from LOLesports.com. looks like 85% of you think that Alliance are going to win. And again, it's very hard to argue with that kind of number. 10-2 Alliance here against a 7-5 Millennium.
Exactly. I mean, they are the #1 team for a reason. They've been the best team in Europe. They've been the most consistent team in Europe. Only had a few mistakes during the way to the #1 spot here. Millennium, of course, that's the thing about them. You never know what's going to happen. He can come in as the best team ever and just destroy Alliance, or they can come in and do nothing and just lose the game on 20 minutes.
Yeah, so while we're, getting towards picks and bans, let's talk about that one, because Kerb, we've already said, is a key member in this team. We've seen Ziggs bans against him before. Ziggs has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
We've also seen that champions like LeBlanc really fit his and Millennium's style, and they tend to do well with things like that. Do you think we're going to see a big focus on Kerb from bans and picks?
Well, so seeing as his champion's actually been nerfed a little bit, I wonder if he's going to pull out something new. I think Fizz is very good here in 4.10. And it could actually be a pick for him if Froggen picks something he feels confident of laning against.
Well, let's have a look then. Your first ban's coming out from Alliance.
Really? Okay.
We may just be aiming at Kerb as we take out Ziggs and Fizz. Other side, Kale, and a red side Cassidy ban for Millennium. What will Alliance be finishing off with here? We already know that Froggen feels at home on pretty much any champion you give him in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I like this Fizz ban here. Quickly mention, it could be the pick for Kerb. They banned away, don't want to deal with it at all. And as you talk about the Ziggs ban against Kerb as well, target towards the mid lane, because Alliance know he's the guy who needs to get ahead early on for Millennium as a team to play very aggressive and get the kills.
So actually they take away Lee Sin from the jungle, and Morgana is removed by Millennium last of all, and Twisted Fate will be a very quick first choice here for Alliance.
And really also explains the Fizz ban here, so Kerb couldn't play Fizz into Twisted Fate. And the thing about Twisted Fate on this patch is he's very, very, very strong. Simply due to LeBlanc being nerfed, her Q no longer silent, so she won't be able to dominate him as hard in the lane any longer, which means he can actually play in pretty much any matchup. He won't be able to get kills, but he can always farm and then impact the other lanes on the map and of course get to his late game point where he is so strong. So he's a very safe pick, and also you don't have to build a Fiends on Twisted Fate. You can build Morello Normicon and have enough mana with your blue card. Therefore, this patch really benefits Twisted Fate in a lot of ways, and I want to see what Kerb wants to play against it.
Leaving Jax open though from the bans here.
It's going to go
Wicked in the top lane. Yeah, Renekton, a champion which, as you mentioned in our last game when we saw him for Youngbuck, that he's really come back into his own. Also a good pick up against that Jax. Evelyn picked up for the jungle. For Cornex, he had his Lee Sin banned away from him, and again sticking to these three main junglers that we're seeing.
So we could expect Elise from Shook, and then of course Renekton for Wicked. Well, if he locks it in, or maybe he wants to go for an Aurelia pick into the Jax if he feels very confident, never mind. Looks to be the Renekton. But the Jax thing here, Jax is gonna do more damage on 4.10 because of the Blade Ruin King now with the 8% instead of 5% on hit, the passive from Blade Ruin King. So the more auto attacks you do, obviously, the more damage you will do with the new item. However, his sustain is low compared to before. I mean, Doran's Blade has been changed. We can talk about it in game, but still, we might see some issues for Kevin sustaining in the lane, especially if he goes one-on-one against Wicked. I would expect a lane swap for Millennium.
Well, it will be that Renekton as you expected for Wicked in the top lane. Also taking Nami in the support role here, so really avoiding the thresh both of these teams as Leona and Lucian are locked in for Millennium. Talked about how Lucian is the most played AD carry from both Creatine and Tabs from our featured matchup. And it seems like Alliance were quite happy to give that over here. And are we going to be seeing Caitlyn? We expect that, auto-attack heavy champions are going to be becoming more and more popular in that bottom lane.
And especially champions who can build either Infinity Edge as first item or Blade of the Ruined King, who don't need the Bloodthirster any longer. They don't need this early power spike from the Bloodthirster. Caitlyn is one of them. Your main focus is simply you need to dominate the lane. Taps actually talked about it himself. There was a big post on Reddit where he put in some good comments about how Caitlyn, she needs to abuse the fact that once she gets a BF sword at 1550 gold in the laning phase, that she needs to dominate the lane here because her power spikes are very delayed compared to Lucian, who builds Blade Rune King into Ghostblade and a very strong early mid game. Caitlyn, she needs Infinity Edge, she needs a Phantom Dancer or Static Shift, and then she can start scaling up towards the late game here. So we need to see how Alliance wants to play the early game, and once again, I really expect Millennium to go towards the lane swap here, dodge around the Nami Caitlyn lane, and dodge around the Renekton lane with the Jax.
Jungle pick also came in the final round there for Alliance as Elise was picked up. Not really a surprise, so we've already touched on that one. So let's think about what Millennium are going to go with here. for that mid lane. Of course, that's going to be Kerp going up against Twisted Fate for Froggen.
So you could still play LeBlanc, just slightly worse in the laning phase compared to before because you don't have the silence, but you're still a very strong laner and you can still try and go for some kills here. But clearly Froggen feels like he can take the matchup, and we need to see now Froggen against LeBlanc if you want to go Fiends anyway, just to get the early magic resist.
And that fact that we had earlier on, Kerp, last week, the game where he had more farm, they ended up really doing nothing. Apart from maybe picking up more farm was almost the highlight of that game from Millennium. But the next one against Fnatic, we saw him picking up kill after kill after kill. Didn't really farm a lot. Just under 150 CS he had in that game overall. And that's what he's going to be looking to do here. Move around, especially when Twisted Fate's going to be doing a similar thing post-6.
It's some funny matchups here because, of course, Renekton will be beating Jax early on. But late game, still, Jax is very, very strong in late game. We always talk about how he scales up to the late game and becomes a monster. Lucian against Caitlyn, I mean, Lucian is going to be strong all around. Where Caitlyn, she needs to abuse her power spike, she needs to get the BF sword on the first back, she needs to get Infinity and Static Shift or Phantom Dancer completed, and then she needs to get to this 4-5 item point in the late game where she becomes such a strong AD carry as well. And of course in the mid lane, LeBlanc is going to win early, but Twisted Fate late game brings so much pressure and becomes so strong. So both teams here, with some either weak or strong lanes, and then they just turn around and say we're strong in the late game instead if we're weak in the lane.
Well, as we head into the match, which AD carry do you think will have the biggest impact? Tweet hashtag tabs or hashtag Creatine to @LOL Esports, and we'll check out the results shortly. Our featured matchup here for this one, the AD carries Caitlyn for tabs. We've got Creatine playing Lucian in this, and if we think back to the time, maybe basically last season, where we were seeing tons and pretty much only Caitlyn down there in the bottom lane, tabs always showed that he was an amazing Caitlyn player.
And he's always very good at playing her passive and safe and pick up a lot of farm. So I think he's going to do the same thing here.
So here we go then, in game for our second match of week 6. It's going to be Alliance, top of the table at 10-2, taking on a Millennium team that, as we've said time and time again, we just don't know what to expect from them. Millennium fans and Millennium themselves will be hoping that this is the strong Millennium, the Millennium that looked incredible against Fnatic last week in London.
They simply need to survive the early laning phase in top and bottom lane here. I do however think, looking at our question to which AD carry is going to have the biggest impact, I think we're going to see Creatine being very aggressive, looking for fights early on with the Blade Ruin King and Ghostblade, where we might see Taps move to this mid lane and just farm, get to his late game point, and then he becomes very strong and can really have an impact on the game here. So early on, I definitely think it's going to be Creatine, or mid game wise, but late game then Taps. And that's the thing you can do with Caitlyn now. If you have a Twisted Fate or something that can split push, you can then divide it up on the map. So you have Bladed Ruin King Renekton in top, you have Twisted Fate in the bottom lane, and then you just put your Caitlyn in her mid-game weak points in his mid lane, and she just farms for like 10-15 minutes until she becomes very strong and then joins in.
In that safer short lane in the middle. We'll see exactly how they want to play this one here. If we look down some of the summoner spells, both top laners still with the teleport, as the early ward went down on Wicked's head. Froggen running the flash and ghost there on Twisted Fate. We've seen times where a Twisted Fate doesn't take this ghost. We've seen problems with the chaseability of that champion, and that's going to be remedied here for Froggen, so we'll see how he goes. Kerp on the other side, though, with flash and ignite, so see if he can go out all in, basically, onto Froggen with that one. Right now, Millennium getting the wards down. We're actually headed towards the enemy blue buff, which is going to be started off by Shook and Wicked.
Perfect start for Millennium then. They stop the blue buff. Might even go for a kill.
Oh, they may do. Shook, in fact, having to flash away straight away from this one. Do have a ward there, so he's going to have that smite available to him. Let's see if he can actually get in there. They're holding the blue buff on the top side. Continex will be able to smite that one away. Nicely done for Millennium.
Yeah, so perfect start for Millennium. They get the lane swap. They invade onto the blue buff, which Alliance were doing. Force the flash away. Shook should be able to pick up his own blue buff in case Alliance actually want to go for it. For now, they're just doing the red. We need to see if Millennium is sending Continex straight to his own blue buff.
Well, he's doing Wraiths for now with the help of Kevin there, so let's see where he goes. I think he's just going to go to the red. Yeah, they're already moving in here with Wicked and Nif.
It was actually very smart by Millennium again, because if Nif and basically just Nif actually was there with a ward and he went over to do the blue buff by himself, it would be easy for Alliance to collapse onto him. So wisely enough, they trade buffs, but just slightly ahead in the side of Continex because he got the blue buff, and Shook now has to start the blue buff.
And going to leave Wicked as a bit of a partner. Nif up there as well, getting a deep ward into have a peek around. Actually, he didn't, or did he? I can't quite see on the minimap. Either way, was up there with them, and we see Cottonex and Kevin and actually J-Ree moving down towards that blue buff area, and they're actually round about the tri-bush here, so this could actually end up being a little bit dangerous for Alliance.
So Alliance here, with 4 members down this bottom lane, could have gone for a Dragon if you look back to last week where teams didn't react to it. But because Millennium knew there was a chance of an early Dragon, which again is buffed in the early game for Alliance, they instantly sent 3 members down towards this bottom lane, the support, the jungler and the top lane, to stop a Dragon in case Alliance was starting it. So overall, Millennium playing the lane swap really well, and Alliance as well noticing, okay, multiple members are around here, we're not going to start any Dragon, we're not going to take any chance, we're just going to go to our lanes and farm, and Wicked could then teleport top lane.
So the bottom lane pushed up there as well so that they could make a swift escape from that tri-bush area. Without that wave, things could have been slightly different on the outcome of that one. Either way, we are tied up in gold. Still very early stages, of course, and we look down the CS pretty much as expected, although Kevin doing a fantastic job here with the help of J-Ree. 15-2, he's currently up there.
Yeah, Alliance were forced to get away from the tower because Millennium were moving down, so he's just been picking up a lot of farm. Wicked now needs to be careful because Cottonex is nearby.
He's got a ward, but that's not going to offer him all that much against Cottonex, who's got the double buff on. Wicked could be in trouble here. Does have a flash available. Will use it as well to get back to his tower, but that leaves him completely vulnerable now in the top lane.
No teleport, no flash, needs to back as well. Cottonex here with a very well-timed gank, making sure this Renekton gets delayed, won't get to his strong part in the early game, just simply shut it down, and Kevin can pick up a lot of farm this bot lane and then outscale Wicked.
We saw Kevin actually going for the Doran shield start as well, which has definitely offered him a little bit more as Curb dives in. And of course, LeBlanc also had that slight change in 4.10 as the stun goes down. Curb maybe in a little bit of trouble from this one. Shook trying to get in there, and Curb able to walk away. Flash already burnt for him though.
And it was actually a very big change for LeBlanc, especially in the laning phase. And Curb has some trouble in here. I mean, Froggen is playing very confident, even if we saw the flash start from Curb because he needed to sustain himself. So TF at the moment really working out for Froggen here and looking very strong in the lane.
Oh, this could be bad news for them though. That's a level 3 nip and they're going to dive straight in onto him. Kevin there with a lot of damage, but they force the flash away. The ignite ticking down, but that's not going to be enough to actually finish them off. J-Ree did flash there as well. Kevin decided not to go too aggressive and use his flash to try and get the first blood.
So let's see here, no flash on Froggen, still has Ghost. We can see Curb go in, trying to land a chain, but Froggen is in a pretty good position. He's very close to his own tower. We'll be able to just get back to safety in case Cottonex goes aggressive. And there's also a pink ward spotting him out. Check the bush, please.
Nope.
Nope.
Not going to check that one.
Always do it in solo queue, guys. Always. There's often a pink ward.
And Cottonex may look to come around the back of Wicked, not knowing that he's got no flash. However, Creatine at half HP. Might take him a while to actually get that wave in a position where they can go safely underneath this turret. And we saw it in that last fight. You know, the old LeBlanc would have got the silence down, would have stopped Froggen from pulling out that gold card and getting the stuns in there. Not quite the same anymore with silence gone as Cottonex again comes towards his top lane. But Wicked, you can see, not really wanting to go too far out.
Still no flash here. However, there's no stun on the side of Lucian or Evelynn, so Wicked can always position himself so he gets the double dash. Just one step towards Evelynn, dash through her the first time, and then second dash away. Therefore, he should be able to get away. However, he's getting denied a lot of farm, while Kevin, again, is farming with J-Ree in this bottom lane.
Keeping him completely out of things there is Creatine, who's got a slight lead over his opposite number, Tabs, who's obviously up against the Jax and Leona combo down on this bottom side. Shook did also come to this bottom lane, but Millennium have already backed away and have started the recall. First one of the game for them going back to base.
And we also actually saw Kevin start Doran's shield simply because Doran's blade has been changed. Instead of giving 5 HP per hit now, it gives 3% lifesteal, which means early game, especially for melee bruisers, it's a lot less. I mean, they need 167 attack damage before they actually get 5 HP back if you just ignore armor and everything. Therefore, it takes a lot of time for the Doran's blade to be better for these melee bruisers compared to before. Of course, for the AD carries, it's a bit different because they will get less HP back anyway from the Doran's blade.
So things staying relatively quiet in this one. The focus of Millennium definitely been on this top lane there with CottonX coming in a couple of times, getting the flash out of Wicked, which is, by the way, still not up for them. And Kevin has now moved towards that top lane. We're going to actually see Lucian, Creatine coming down towards the bottom side of the map, and they'll be up against the duo of Tabs and Nif. So once we get in there, we'll see how that works. Tabs himself has over 10 CS lead here, however, not picked up a second item just yet. Creatine's come back into the lane with a BF sword, and obviously that's not the kind of items you want to be facing.
So Creatine actually not building Blade of the Ruined King, will be going towards Infinity instead, we should expect. He did pick up a lot of farm up in his lane by himself, and therefore he felt he could go BF into Infinity and maybe get it a bit earlier. Didn't have to rely on having to pick up a lot of farm or delaying it by too much, but a little bit surprised he doesn't go Blade of the Ruined King. I really think it's the best option on Lucian at the moment. Reckless, after last game, said as well, you're so strong with Blade and Ghost Blade.
So, blue buffs coming back up in this one. And we'll see Kurt getting the first one in the game. Other side of the field, Froggen will also take his blue. Both of them coming back into lane. Actually, Needlessly Large Rod was the first item coming out of Kurt.
DFG.
Codex for Froggen.
So you're going to see Curb with the DFG. Going aggressive again. Going in, just doing a bit of damage to Froggen. Backing away, needs to just farm up here. But he's going to go for the DFG and simply try and focus on assassinating people left and right. If he can spot a target out with Jerry and Leona, it's actually the same thing they did against Fnatic last week, where you had Leona on Jerry and then you had Curb on LeBlanc here and just full focus on killing the first target. Jerry managed to lock down with his CC.
So look at this then. We've got level 6 CottonX ultimate ready. Headed down towards the bottom lane with Tabs and Nif, and there is the reveal. They're going to go actually over towards Nif, but he's close to the turret here. Will they be able to lock him up? Going under the tower. CottonX is actually going to go low, finished off by the gold card, and now Froggen and Tabs going to focus towards Creatine. Have they got the damage? Solar Flare comes down. They do manage to get themselves the second. Can they have the third as well? They will now with a triple kill. It's a triple kill for Froggen, and that just going to show how big of an impact that Destiny can have on the game, and that makes things a lot harder now for Millennium.
It was such an aggressive play by Millennium first. They actually went for the dive, even though Jerry wasn't level 6 when the fight actually started, so he couldn't lock down Nif. He still has flash, by the way. He died without using the flash because he didn't feel like he had to in the end. He was dead anyhow, but he just bought so much time for Alliance to come down with this Twisted Fate here. Remember, LeBlanc can't stop the Twisted Fate anymore because she can't silence him.
Would be bad news moving on, and Froggen coming back into the lane with that Morellonomicon, Sorcerer's Shoes and a couple of Doran's rings, as well as here is Wicked going low in that top lane to Kevin again, deciding not to use his flash. Wicked did have a flash available as well, so probably would have been safe from that one, and Kevin just playing the safety game, forced Wicked to back off out of the lane and do some good damage on towards his threat, but you see his sustain of Renekton, back up to half HP almost already.
And this is the point now where teleport, the changes is a big deal, because normally you saw top laners, they would delay the back till the teleport was ready, go back to base buy and just teleport back to lane instantly. But because it's 40 seconds longer, it's harder to do it. So now with Wicked being low, Curb and Froggen actually trading some damage here. But now with Wicked being fairly low, now of course he sustained a lot of it back. He wasn't able to just go back to base, get some items and come back in lane. He needs to wait.
That trade once again showing without the silence, the gold card comes out and Froggen was able to do a lot of damage onto Kerp, actually forcing his passive to come out. That's going to mean that Kerp needs to be real careful in this middle lane, or will they throw everything that they've got here at Froggen? I saw CottonX coming around, no ultimate for him just yet after he used it in that last fight down on the bottom side of the map. Looks like he will actually just be backing away, going back into farm.
And we need to see if Millennium actually want to put in some deep wards around his mid lane to try and spot Froggen out, to see if he's moving to either to the top lane or towards the bottom lane here. Because for now, he can actually move fairly safe. No, there's actually a ward from Millennium spotting him here. So there was a well-placed ward, seeing Froggen run to the Wraith Camp and also move towards his bottom lane to try and set up a gank, or in case he wanted to set up a gank, because there's no bot lane tower after the lane swap here. So they definitely need these deep wards. Had a one already. Full credit to Millennium.
Well, they forced them away. Dragon is available for the taking. And there is a ward there actually for Millennium, so they're going to see that Alliance have started this one off. Will they be able to get there in time and finish off the Dragon or stop them doing the Dragon? Bubble's gonna come out, they lock up Jerry with that. Cocoon will follow straight after us as well. It's a lot of damage. Jerry actually following it in. That's gonna be the first kill to Alliance, but Shook taking damage from left and right here. Crimson gonna go aggressive. 1 versus 3. Connex really nice. He can come back in onto it, but they turn it back around. Tabs gets another one. Can he finish off Creatine? He's got his ultimate available. I don't think he had quite enough mana to actually finish it though.
Oh, Curb is waiting around. He's jumping in, backing out. Still though, he actually managed to kill Froggen by himself one-on-one here, while the rest of Millennium were fighting. Creatine is being a little bit annoying here. Could actually set up something for Curb. He's still around here. Shook is very low.
There is the scan coming through. They've not seen him up until now. There is Curb going in, and he uses his ultimate on towards Shook. Can he kill him? Yeah, he's got no mana here to get away. Creatine gets that one, and Curb round the back of that Dragon Pit, showing Alliance that they can't just back away. Creatine stopping the recalls coming in. Good defense on the Dragon.
We actually see the one-on-one here. Froggen popped his ulti. I think he's looking at the fight at this point, so Kirby's just staying around. He gets in, doesn't know that's ward. Kirby instant just jumps him, and will actually pick up the kill in the very end. Use the chain, gets a kill. Meanwhile, they're losing the fight over here, but it doesn't matter because Kirby's still alive. He's just staying, waiting around. Creatine stop the recall. 2 more kills for Millennium.
So that leaves us at 5-4, still in favor of Alliance in the kills and the gold. And look at this, Carnex coming around the back, trying to get in onto Wicked. Flash is available for Wicked. Kevin gonna dive in there. Was a little bit late on the counter-strike though, and that allows Wicked to get out without burning the flash.
And now Teleport is ready for both top laners here, so they can look to just farm up, go back to base, and then Teleport to join in here. We need to see if Wicked wants to build a Bladed Rune King on Renekton like we saw Youngbook do in the last game, or if he has something else in mind. So with the Blade, he's going to be very strong in the one-on-ones here and should be able to duel against Kevin for some time at least, until we get the real late game point of Jax.
So have a look down AD carry items here, because you see that the Infinity Edge was done as the first item for Creatine.
Yeah.
So going definitely different to what we saw Reckless doing earlier on. Other side for Tabs, he's not got the money. I think he's at around 500 gold, 600 gold at this point. So definitely not quite as strong as Creatine's going to be, especially when you factor in those double auto attacks. So
again, I'm not sure if Creatine decides to build Infinity Edge because he had a good start farming in the lane and he felt he doesn't have to delay his power spikes for such a long time. He can easily get enough gold for Infinity Edge and Phantom Dance or Static Shift or whatever he decides to build next, and therefore be relevant. Don't have to be taking too much time on building up. He definitely could go for it early. I'm not sure. We need to see what his next item will be. At least for Caitlyn, it should be Static Shift or Phantom Dance.
So here is Destiny Pop once again. Gonna go this time on towards Kevin in the top lane. Wicked got his ultimate running underneath the tower. There's a lot of damage. Kevin actually will get away. Will he finish him off? No, he won't. Kevin surviving with almost 0 health. And there is Kurt diving in with the DFG. Stunned up though by Froggen once again.
Very nice stun by Froggen. Spotting Curb coming in, instantly picks the gold card and stops him from actually killing Wicked. Codnex though decides to back away here. They can push in the mid lane at least, where Shook by himself is actually pushing the entire wave.
We actually see that Kevin has used his teleport to come into this middle turret. Are they going to go for Dragon? It certainly looks like they're going to be closing onto it. Shook also an option. Good Cocoon at max range, but Millennium starting off that Dragon. Shook's going to have to steal.
So because Froggen stayed up in his top lane, didn't have his ult because he had to use it for the gank, but then just went straight towards the Dragon, knew there could only be maximum of 4 members from Alliance. Wicked would have to teleport in. So smart play, get a Dragon here, we'll lose the top tower for it, however.
Yeah, Froggen is going to have enough damage to pick that one up, with Kevin coming too late up towards that top lane, so the exchange of the Dragon and the towers between these two teams will leave Alliance still about 3,000 gold in the lead in this game. So despite losing out on a couple of kills, probably will be hoping that, well, obviously they would hope to finish off Kevin, but probably should have finished off Kevin in that meantime. One more auto attack from anyone would have done that one. It's how it goes sometimes. 5-4, still got a lead in kills and turrets, and of course the gold as well.
So we talked about this scenario here earlier, where Taps would go mid lane fairly early and just sit and farm for as long as possible until you feel like he has enough items to really start carrying the game. And then you move Wicked around to split push, and Froggen can do the same thing once his ulti is ready, which it is. Now it's very hard. Still, they want to get this mid tower first, and it was fairly low.
Yeah, fairly low, easy to finish off, but will they stop? Actually, they may be forced to. Millennium have brought the jungler and support to this mid lane to make sure that they can't keep going on that one. However, they've already pushed the bottom lane up there as well. And Alliance going to move around to that one, are they? Actually, no. They're just getting some deep wards on that bottom side of the jungle. And looks like they will be recalling home. Meanwhile, Wicked TP up towards the top lane.
So TPing top here, Kevin's is actually down to about 50% cooldown wise, so his TP will be up before Wicked, so you can maybe try and set up a play with Millennium. For now though, both of them are just once again farming away, building towards the late game points, and Wicked with the Sunfire, Kevin going straight towards his Trinity Force.
Another couple of items as well in different positions. Froggen finishing off his Zhonya's Hourglass. Had during that last bit of an encounter in the top lane, had his Seeker's Arm Guard for that one, but now he's got that Zhonya's going to give him a bit more survivability, especially against the DFG on Kurt.
Yeah, also against Leona, who wants to target you in the team fights. Again, Millennium, last week against Fnatic, he was X-Pect on Syndra, he was the target every single time. He didn't build a Banshee, he didn't build an Hourglass, and therefore they could kill him every single team fight. Froggen playing it a lot more safe, and know he's going to be one of the targets for them, so he early Hourglass. And again, it makes perfect sense.
Cottonex did start to come up towards top. Wicked Flash currently down, as is Kevin's though. Let's see if Cottonex can actually get in there. Struggled a little bit to lock down Wicked despite having his flash down from a very early stage in the game. And Wicked is playing this one very safe. Every single time that Kevin starts to move out a little bit, Wicked will drop back to more towards that turret range.
And so Millennium would have to tower dive him if they want to kill him, but then Froggen can always join in with his ulti very fast. It becomes very risky for Millennium to do it, unless of course it's Kerp who just instantly blows him up and then backs away. For now though, I think Millennium are happy just leaving Kevin to farm as much as possible, and Alliance seems to be happy as well, just having Wicked farm.
And Wicked is ahead on that front, 150 to 134 of Kevin. As you mentioned, Trinity Force will be the first big item coming out of Kevin. Sunfire already done on the side of Wicked. And the team's actually starting to gather up a little bit in this mid lane. They're going to go for tab. Actually, DFG was used on Nif there, who was burnt down to less than half health, but no kill for Kerp.
So the managed to actually stun tap, so he couldn't do anything in the fight, but Kerp was so far away from him, he had to just take a closer target. It was Nif, Flash was used. Once again though, we do see again the comp from Millennium. They're really looking to set up some picks with Leona and with LeBlanc.
Can they get them though? That's
the question.
That's the thing with this team, and we've seen it from Millennium before, that they've done well when they start snowballing things out. I mean, Kerp's in a prime position really. He's 2-0-1 with that LeBlanc. Going to get himself here another blue buff in preparation for Dragon, which is coming up in just under 2 minutes time as well.
And such an early game build from Kerp, going now for early magic resistance with, early magic penetration with your DFGs. You're just looking to blow up targets here in the early game. If he can get a few kills, he can really get rolling, like we saw against Fnatic, and he will be able to carry the game. But Alliance, 4,000 gold ahead, just been putting a lot of focus on taking down towers. It's been working for them.
Well, that's been typical Alliance style. If we remember back to the start of the Copenhagen Wolves game last week, actually expected after about 10-15 minutes, it looked like it was going to be quite a one-sided affair for Alliance, doing great moves around the map and taking out objectives, but the fact is that they started to lose kills, and that could certainly happen here again in this game. We'll have to see though. Jax, by the way, has now finished that Trinity Force, so more power for him as Kerp going to dive in towards Nick once again. The chains will surely be enough. The ignite is ticking in, and Kerp will get that one, puts him on the killing spree.
So he set everything up early here where he forced the flash away, and then he just waited in this Dragon Pit. As soon as he spotted Nif, easy kill for him. Still, 45 seconds on the Dragon, so Nif should be able to come in and join for the fight. Millennium won't be able to get an objective for it. On his bot lane.
Oh, that is dangerous news here. Froggen actually going to run with the Ghost. Pops the Destiny as well. Gold card will actually land down to the backside. Kerp, though, I think, may go down. He dives in. Froggen's going to fall. Kevin's TP saving Kerp. And Froggen and our cameramen completely confused by that one. Alliance do manage to take out Creatine in the mid lane, though.
Wow, Kerp. Just wow. I mean, that was insane. He jumps over there. As soon as Froggen throws the gold card, he just jumps back to his original place. Therefore, the Q from Froggen missed him, and he ended up dying for it. I mean, just look here again. Froggen gets a good start. There's a lot of damage on the Kerp. Pops the Ghost as well. Teleport coming in from Kevin. Here's the trick then. As soon as the gold card is in air, he pops back, and the Q missed from Froggen. He was just expecting to stun him, land the Q, kill him. Instead, everything gets turned around here.
burst coming down as well. The stun, of course, from Kevin really helping them out on that one. Dragon did go down to Alliance while we were having another look at that one. So despite that amazing move from Kerp, and now 3-0-2 for him, it's Alliance that still hold a healthy gold lead. Kevin's actually just taken the first turret of Millennium's game down on this bottom side of the map. So they're going to need a couple more of them to start leveling things up, but if Kerp continues to play at this level, it could still be a tricky game for Alliance.
Yeah, and he's waiting around the same position he really used last week on LeBlanc, where he just puts a ward in the middle of the lane, and he just waits for someone to walk up and try and farm. It can be Taps, it can be Nif, it can even be Froggen, and then he just jumps them around the corner when there's no wards, and trying to pick up a kill, or at least force them to go back, and then Millennium can try and set something else up on the map.
He's in the hole. Very early there from Tabs, just trying to get a bit of damage back and stop Kerp from feeling so confident there in that middle lane. Blasting 1 has been added in for Kerp, by the way, so a bit more damage to be thrown out after that DFG. Alliance looking to not get split up here, I think, is the name of the game. You can see 3 of them already in position. Froggen going through, and it's a lot of damage, but not enough to finish off the kill.
Didn't actually manage to proc his last Q here, his ulti Q onto Froggen, which probably would have killed him, but the chain missed. Therefore, Froggen stays alive, but is now forced to go back to base. And Kerp, once again, really just looking for targets, and that's also why we see this early game build from him and being so aggressive. Because both AD carries have so far been non-factors, because they're just farming up. They build Infinity Edge and want to farm, want to get to the late game. I mean, Taps, he's been in the mid lane for the last 10 minutes just farming.
And he's farming up now to 214 TS, still 20 behind that of his opposite number, Creatine, who's also moving towards a Trinity Force as his second item. Does have 2 out of 3 bits of that one.
Very expensive build here from Creatine, really using the fact that Kerp put so much pressure on the map here early on, so he has time to build up. Otherwise, he could really have been punished for this build.
And that's also not just going to allow him to go that way, but Kevin as well on Jack's going to be taking Blade of the Ruin King as his second item to that Trinity Force. I can see that neither team, or specifically Alliance, wanting or needing really to stay together at this stage. They got a lot of wards down at least at the halfway point, or a little bit further in than that, and they're not going to take any risks, I think, from this one now.
And of course, Millennium are happy to just go in late game. I mean, you have Jax, Lucian as well, good late game AD carry. LeBlanc as a pick as well, very strong late game. Alliance though, it's not like they have a bad late game comp, it's only Renekton who's going to get outscaled, but if he builds a Blade, he actually becomes fairly strong even in the late game, and therefore Alliance should be able to fight in the late game. It's just a big deal if Kevin becomes so strong that Wicked basically won't be able to hold him.
And Alliance, let's not forget, do have the lead in this game. However, Millennium's starting to put more and more pressure, forcing Alliance into a bit more defensive play. We can see the gold there. Those top laners, look how close that is. 8,050 to 8,020. To show you how close that one really is overall. Will Wicked be able to keep it close, and how offensive is Kevin going to be? We heard in the pre-game video as Destiny's going to get popped. They're going in towards Kevin on the top side of the map. Ghost going to be used, but Kevin running away from this one. But there is Nami. There is a stun coming in, and Kevin, is he going to be able to get away from it? Gold card comes through. That pretty much seals the deal, and it's Froggen that picks up the kill.
And we really see the reason for the Ghost on Froggen here. He comes in a bit of a bad position, pops the Ghost, able to just chase after Kevin, lands the stun, and can just keep chasing, picks up the kill. It's a very nice gank, and getting a very important kill, and delaying or shutting down Kevin a little bit at least.
Slowing him down, that's for sure. We're going to see the Solar Flare coming in, really only landing onto Wicked, but it's enough to get blown up in the end. And that will be a pick back here for Millennium. And again, J-Ryu was so impressive with Leona last week, picking up another one.
Dude, again, he's just very aggressive. As soon as he sees a chance, he just pops the ult, goes in for the kill here. And Wicked, he's full armor, not a single magic resist item there. So Kerp went for him, used everything, and he went down.
Went down to give Kerp his third kill of the game. Got 3 assists as well, and he's yet to die. We see also that Creatine has finished off that Trinity Force now, so he's going to be feeling very confident come the next fight. Also, just seen a Mikhail's picked up by Nif. Obviously, some changes to that item as well, as it being quite a decent amount more expensive.
Yeah, it costs a lot more, but you do get 10% cooldown reduction from it now. Still, most support players would say the change was not good for the supports. It was actually a nerf to supports in general because you don't have too much gold. And the 10% cooldown reduction is not worth the extra 800 gold that Mikhail's is worth, or cost now, according to the supports here, in Europe at least we've been talking to. Still, Mikhail's is a good item and you need it, especially against the likes of Leona because of the CC. And therefore, we have been picked up by Nif.
See how that helps them moving in. I mean, as you said, it was Wicked that they focused on in the last one. He's supposed to be the tankiest man, building completely tanky with Randuin's and the Sunfire, but that's all armor, and Kerp is able to get through that. As we see, Dragon up in 30 seconds already. Ward clearing has started, and Alliance going to get the better of that one. Both top laners do have their teleports available, so look out for that one as Kerp just going to dive in there. Not going all out, though, onto Shook.
And with blue buff on Kerp, he can really keep doing this. It could be the issue for him. When he doesn't have a blue buff, he has very low amount of mana regen at this point. So if he goes in too often to try and make one of these picks here, has to jump back, he goes out of mana fairly fast. Still, with blue buff, he can keep doing it around this dragon here. So good timing for Millennium. Still, Alliance is ahead. We need to see in the straight-up teamfights here with also now an extra BF sword onto taps. He can really start becoming an impact.
So Millennium moving with 4 towards the dragon. You can see that Kevin is actually backed away from the lane on the top side of the map, so that means he'll be safe to actually teleport in, and I think they've given this one up. Yeah, Millennium are going to get the dragon for free. What are Alliance planning on? They've got Tabs who's moved away. They're going to try and lock up Kevin from this one. He will actually have that counter-strike running. A lot of damage coming his way. Leap strikes off to the minions, though, and they get the dragon without a reply. Oh, will it stay or no reply? Kerp going to get bubbled up. Have they got the damage to finish him off? No, they don't. Kerp just able to distortion away from that one. Turret was picked up though by Alliance on the top side, but now Carnex is chasing as well. That won't last long though.
No, so they're actually trading Dragon for the top tower here for Alliance. Look, again, they're looking more for the taking down towers here, setting up split pushing and going for straight up team fights against Millennium at this point. And I wonder actually what Taps with this BF sword, if he's gonna build the Bloodthirster. I mean, it could work against LeBlanc here because the shield you get, as long as you manage to hit a target when you're on full HP, the shield could save him potentially in the fights. Or if he wants to build a Scimitar, which is the upgrade to Quicksilver Sash, which has been buffed in this patch here, and most AD carries actually really like it now.
We'll see about that in a few minutes once he gets a little bit more gold in him. Alliance running amok in the Millennium jungle, getting some nice deep vision down. Of course, the dragon was already taken by Millennium before that last encounter, and the gold still sits in Alliance's favor. See how that one all works out for them. And Kerp, hey, wasn't sat on a lot of gold. No, he wasn't. He finished off his death cap there in his last trip home. So death cap, DFG, haunting guys, the 3 items. Other side, Froggen also has a death cap on top of his Morellonomicon and that Zhonya's Hourglass. Also seeing up in the top side of things, Kevin's going to be delaying his Blade of the Ruin King here for a little bit more defense.
Pretty smart though, because Froggen keeps going up towards him and trying to kill him every single time possible. So he needs the early magic resist here to try and survive the gank and just keep farming, keep farming, keep farming, get you late game point with Jax, and you're gonna be all fine. Wicked just basically changing up the way you normally see Renekton with a lot of early game pressure, early game power. There was of course the lane swap coming in, and just saying I'm gonna go full tank now because I don't feel like I can one-on-one you anyway. So I might as well be very good in team fights and therefore be very strong or be very tanky. And then also buy time for Froggen to come up in case we want to gank you 2v1 up in the top lane.
Some magic resist in there as well.
Much
now.
needed.
Yeah, much needed. We saw it in that last fight where Jerry was able to lock them up. That was really close. Wildcards coming through. Didn't quite have the damage for Froggen to steal that one away, though. Goes over to Kerp in the end. He's now level 16. We'll see if he can catch any more out. But Alliance just keeping on with this tradition that they've gone with now, sitting with 3 men in the mid lane, trying to make sure that neither of them gets caught out.
Doing the exact same thing again. Wicked in one lane, Froggen in a different lane, and Taps as the main wave clear in this mid lane. On Caitlyn, just standing there, wave clearing again and again and again. So while he's not even in the game when it comes to these fights, he does a lot of wave clearing and he makes sure that Alliance can split push and set up kills because he's standing in his mid lane and always farming.
And then we're getting more items soon as Froggen. What is he waiting for? Down on the bottom side of River, he does have Destiny available. They've already pushed the wave quite far up. In fact, he's on the inner turret of Millennium. There's going to be an ace in the hole again. Tab's not being scared to use that one and thrown it at Kerp pretty much every time it's off cooldown. And then he's got vision. They are going to be seeing Kerp recalling. Jax is recalling as well. What are Alliance going to do with that information? Nothing.
Now, nothing. Taps wants to go back to base. Again, it's good for him because it gives him some time where he can actually go back. He doesn't have to be in the mid lane wave clearing. Just keep defending this mid tower over and over. And we do actually see he picks up the Scimitar. There's been the new go-to magic resist item for AD carries instead of the Banshee because it's so strong now. I mean, you get 80 attack damage, been buffed by 20, and the big thing is the movement speed buff you get when you use it, when you use the cleanse. That works on ranged as well. So you have heal, and you have now your Scimitar. To speed yourself up makes it very hard for people to actually catch you in team fights, especially like a Jax.
And when you want to get away from J-Re, just adds an extra little element into that one to cleanse off that crowd control. Is Destiny going to be popped here? Will they follow through anywhere? It was a case of check out exactly where Millennium are. They've got no wards that I can actually see over by Baron, and Millennium were all hidden on that top side of the river. They weren't actually going for anything though, but that also meant that Alliance didn't have to move too close in towards that brush and risk getting themselves blown up by Kerp, who will once again take himself an ace in the hole to the face.
And Froggen clearly didn't feel confident enough staying bot lane, even though the wave was pushed all the way up to the tower for quite a while now. He could have done a lot of damage to it actually, but decided to run mid lane, stay with the team, didn't want to risk Kerp would jump him or whoever, or maybe Lucian would jump in and win the fight here, so therefore he stayed with the team in the mid lane instead of taking the tower, and now they're just moving. Could trade mid tower for top tower here, but then Alliance can just push on to the inhibitor, so Millennium need to react and come back and defend.
Well, they are moving back as well, going through the jungle, which was already warded out, so Alliance see that chase coming in. Well, look at this, they've backed off. They're going to let Millennium walk back over to middle again, and then they move in for another couple of hits on towards the tower. J-Re's actually stepping forward here. Will they go for the fight? Good cocoon from Shook, though.
Looking at mid lane.
Alliance to walk away. Yeah, they've got Kevin in the mid lane now. I don't think this turret's going to be safe. No, it's not. Look at the damage coming out.
Yeah, so Alliance have been defending this tower for such a long time, but as soon as they move Taps away from this mid lane, Kevin just walked from his top lane down. Wicked was a bit slow to react, took down the mid tower with all other members being in this bot lane, just holding off each other here. J-Re was looking for the engage, decided to back away also because he can't really engage onto Taps any longer because of the Scimitar.
So 10 seconds for Dragon. Millennium are all recalled after Kevin managed to get that turret, so they should be in position here to stop Alliance going straight in for that one. Alliance themselves have all 5 men on that area of the map once again as the ace in the hole, this time thrown towards J-Re. Good ward control here as well. We see those sweeping lenses coming in very, very handy for Alliance, but Millennium throwing the wards over the wall here. Gonna try and stop this one as Connex comes in. Good tidal wave comes across. Who are they going for? It's Nip that's focused down. It's Crimson that gets that kill. Kevin having to jump away. He fell pretty low. Wicked down to less than half HP as well, but I think Alliance have got enough damage here. Gonna go now towards Connex. Froggen comes in. Who's he going for? He actually put a DFG down on towards Kerp, but Kerp got away from it, and everyone from Millennium there super low as Taps goes in. Will he go any deeper? He's got no flash. Will he use the heal to actually get in range? No, he won't. No need to go too greedy on that one because they got the kill. They can go back to Dragon. In fact, they already have gone back to Dragon, and that will go their way. Or will Kerp be a hero and steal that one? Good Sonya's from Froggen. Stops him from going down, and it is Alliance that pick up Dragon.
So Alliance at first, they actually lose Nif, but they keep just kiting backwards, and then we see the flash coming in from Shook, trying to set up the kill. We're actually going to see it again here. Nif is going to be the first target for Millennium, because he simply gets locked down, and there's nothing he can do to get out here. But the rest of Alliance, they're just backing away, surviving the upfront or the burst or engage from Millennium at first, and then they feel confident of, now we can re-engage here, come in, and Froggen actually used the DFG onto Kerp, even though he stuns Creton and misses the Q afterwards, so didn't manage to kill him. Still though, Taps on his Caitlyn here. The more time he gets, the stronger he becomes, and we see in this fight, he completely untouched in the back line, goes in, picks up a kill, and also the Dragon now.
Getting headshotting the auto attack there, really doing a ton of damage. And it leaves Alliance with another Dragon in their pocket. Still level on kills. Oh, now level on kills at 8 apiece, but still it's Alliance that hold on to a good gold lead. 5,500 pretty much at this stage of the game. Taking their time about finishing things off, but Alliance are a team that, well, you know, at this level of play, it doesn't matter how flashy you are in winning games. You've got to do things, you've got to do it right, otherwise, of course, it's going to cost you matches. And playing safe could bring Alliance to an 11-2 record in the league.
And they couldn't really play it any more aggressive early on, because they needed Caitlyn to get to the late game point, and one Twisted Fate to get to the late game point, and of course with the early kills on the Kerp, it made it even harder to actually set something up without being blown up by Kerp here. J-Re, he's going in!
Going in onto it, but who are they going to go for? tidal wave comes across, and I think that's the end of that one. Ace in the hole will fly through. Creaton actually blocks it, and they're going to try and lock up Cornex. Down to half HP already for him. Ricky's moving in, but there's the Cocoon, that's surely in. Cornex turns around, puts his ulti down, but they've got enough damage to blow through it. And now Froggen gonna use the Destiny. He's going to the top side of the jungle. That's a good counter-strike from Kevin to stop them following through. 5 versus 4 with a 50-second spawn time. Can Alliance get Baron?
Well, Froggen is very low on mana at this point here. Would be a risky Baron if they decide to start it. Curb, of course, full mana, full HP. They do start it. Let's see if Millennium can stop it.
Curb's only the man to try and get in, get one kill for them to make things easier, but look how fast that Baron is going down.
There's no fight, remember.
Here, trying to move in. Kevin's going to go for it. Who's going to get it? It's Alliance together. Baron, Jerry's going to be picked up at the side. Baron helping them out even further as Creaton will also fall here in a second. Tab picks up the double kill, and now they're looking for Kevin, chasing him down. Cocoon was already used by Shook here, so we won't have that available to him. Curb is just stalking on the backside. He needs to be real careful about if he goes in for it, but he also needs to loop back around because they're going to lose towers.
And so Alliance here, they feel like they can just straight up start the Baron because there's no smite for Millennium. We need to follow Curb though. He's not done yet. Tabs already know he's behind him, or he used to hold on to him. Now Curb's like, yeah, never mind. I can't do anything.
No, can't do a thing about it. They'd already spotted him coming through. Ace in the hole was put down, and Alliance just carry on up that middle lane and take out the first inhibitor of this match. And now with the Baron on, we can see that gold jumped a massive amount, over 10,000 now. The lead for Alliance as Curb trying to get away. Destiny gonna be used. Will Froggen go for this one? He's gonna be getting into range. He's pulled the gold card. Does he want it? He does go in there, but Curb is gonna try and avoid him, but he's basically gonna have to execute himself here. I'm not sure that he'll be able to sneakily escape, or will he go down
to the red
onto
buff,
the bottom side of the map? That's pretty much his only chance. Tidal wave comes through, doesn't land. Curb still trying to get away. Turret hit will go in there. I think Alliance have given up that chase.
Yeah, not really worth it to keep chasing here. Just go back, use all the gold you just earned from winning the fight, from getting the Baron and the towers, pick up some very needed items, and then be ready for the next fight here. We actually see Bloodthirster now, 4 taps. No Last Whisper, simply saying, okay, I have magic resist now, I have a cleanse. Now I have a Bloodthirster, which is going to give me a big shield as long as I hit the minion before the fight even starts, or before I take any damage. So if Curb wants to try and kill me, it's going to be very, very hard, and taps can just stay in the back. And we actually see the same kind of team fights from Alliance, where as soon as the engage comes in from Jerry, everyone backs away. They don't even try and fight early on. They wait for the engage to drop down. They wait for Curb to jump in and do whatever he decides to do, and then they disengage. Use the ulti from Froggen, land a Cocoon or something from Shook, go and get a kill, and then move on towards the Baron here, which was very well executed by them.
Went down quickly. Millennium in there, but always got to be slightly careful, especially when it's someone like Jackson.
Beautiful
shield.
shield.
You up while you're on top of it, and there is that shield of the new Bloodthirster. Could definitely come in handy when you've got that LeBlanc over on the other side, trying to burst you down. What we're going to see, because Alliance are moving up now to that inner turret in the bottom lane. The only inner turret that stands actually on the map for Alliance to be taken down. And then Millennium will be left with defending at least what's left of their base. Inhibitor is already gone. I don't think they're even going to put up a fight for this turret.
No. Too low anyway, would just be too risky for them to try and defend it, and then as soon as the tower went down, Alliance would engage onto him. One thing with the Bloodthirster, in case people haven't read the patch note or played the game the last few days, after 15 seconds without hitting a minion, the shield will disappear. So it's not there all the time. You need to land an auto attack first before you take any damage, and then you get the shield.
Destiny is actually Jerry going to get cocooned after the bubble as well, so they land the CC, but no follow through on that. Ulti did come out from Tabs, and even onto Jerry, that really does sting. We also saw a couple of Banshees fails coming out. There is the FG going to Creaton. Not going to get them a kill there, but it forces Millennium to back away. Are they going to go any deeper? Jerry's actually going to come back in. They're going to surely kill off Kevin to the side, who's actually doing good job on towards Shook. Double kill though for Tabs onto the mid laner and the support, and that is now bad news for Millennium. Minute spawn timers, and Alliance may win the game right here.
And again, Tabs in these late game team fights, perfect positioning, just destroying people. He's been farming all game long, and it really pays off now.
And I don't think they can stop them. It's Lucian and Jax to try and stop 5 men from Alliance. In fact, Tabs going aggressive. They're almost two-shotting Creaton. Gonna keep pushing onto it. They won't need the kills though. The Nexus goes down, and Alliance continue their dominance at the top of the table and go 11 wins for 2 losses.
So while Millennium tried to set up some kills in the early mid-game part, Alliance were always ahead in goal because they focused on taking down towers here. The ultis from Froggen were pretty much always used towards Kevin in his top lane here, trying to delay him from farming up, trying to get a kill or two, and in the top tower as well. And we just saw the whole tactic from them where you put the 2 split pushes in each side lane, and you just leave your Caitlyn in this mid lane to farm. And as long as she gets enough time to farm up, she will get her items, she will get to late game team fights, and when you have an AD carry like Taps in late game team fights, he's just gonna kill everyone.
And we see the variance again from Alliance coming in. We talked about it before. They played poke comps, they played pick comps. This one, very much a safer composition coming in there. As you said, the way that they played it worked to all the strengths that they had, sticking your weaker players all together in that mid lane so that LeBlanc wasn't just going to come in there, dive straight on top of you. I mean, credit to Kerp, he made what opportunities were given to him work. Ended up 3-1-3 in the end, but once there's 5 men are all bunched together and they can control you the way that they did, just stepping back each time, kiting you away, and then turning things around once you've got nothing else to offer in the fight. Really well played by Alliance.
Yeah, very controlled team fights. Because again, they saw the engage coming in, everything was popped by Millennium, and so we lose 1 member, who cares? Turn it around as soon as we feel like all their things on cooldown and they won't be able to burst us down any longer, and they just win the fight. Go Baron, pick up the Baron. It was only the jungler dead. It was 4 members still for Millennium with full HP. And yet Alliance were like, you know what, we can easily go Baron here. We have full control of the whole thing. Millennium tried to come in and stop it. A little bit late. Shook picked up the Baron. They won the team fight again. Double kill by Taps, I believe. Again. I think we picked up a few in this game here. And then go towards take inhibitors. So overall, a bit of a slow game by Alliance, but very controlled.
Very controlled and slow, probably the best way to go about it when you've got that. Jax put heavy focus on there. Froggen, I think, used at least half of his destinies to go up into that top lane. Okay, there were a couple where they didn't quite finish off Kevin, but they kept him away from the farm. They were able to get, I think, both turrets from both destinies that he put up there, even when Kevin got away from it. So overall, well played. It's hard to see where a lot of losses may come from this season from Alliance because they are looking just that bit better than everyone else.
I mean, you will have some games where everything goes wrong, you lose it, or some game where you get outpicked. I mean, the Gambit lost that. They kept talking about how they got outpicked. They didn't like the champions they used, even though it was all comfort champions they've been using the weeks before. They're like, yeah, we don't like this anymore. We're going to change it up. Next day they came in, or next week they came in, all new picks, pretty much all around, except for the jungle picks, which pretty much are the same. And then they just keep finding new picks, new playstyles, new champions. They're adapting well here to 4.10. I mean, Taps was one of the AD carries really coming out there to everyone on the forums and typing about how he likes these things about it. He dislikes this champion now and yada, yada, yada. And he kept saying how Caitlyn, as long as she could build up with time, she was going to be a strong pick. Picks it here. Gets to build it up, and it really worked.
You have to wonder as well, if he comes out and says, I really want to play Caitlyn going into the late game, do you think about banning that one? And from Millennium, I mean, you can always say he'll just play something else anyway, which he likes as well. For Millennium, part of their inconsistency, is it because they're so predictable in what they like to play?
So I feel like there's definitely the same pattern for Millennium. They need to have a pick comp to do well. This game around, I mean, they tried to get the kills here. They tried to use the pick comp the same way they did against Fnatic. So yes, as a team, it's easy to say, okay, how do we expect them to play and build a combo around it? Caitlyn is a perfect AD carry against stuff like this because you have your net, you can jump away, you have very long range, you're very safe. And at the same time, the Twisted Fate to try and split push, and then Alliance could set up some picks while Millennium were trying to do it themselves and therefore trying to counter it a little bit. Overall, yes, they're easy to predict, can still be hard to play against.
Well, fantastic win there for Alliance. We're going to send things over to Shox and Quickshot. We're standing by with Tabs from Alliance.
Thank you very much, Joe. Indeed, standing by with Tabs after that victory over Millennium. Very convincing once again. And now that we have you here, we got to pick your brain about the changes in 4.10. You've been very vocal already about it. So let's start by the picks in this game, particularly you going for the Caitlyn over maybe the Lucian in this one. Why?
Yeah, because the BT change made BT a lot worse item to rush, and the characters who relied on it, like Lucian was really good with it, so his priority went down. And you can pick other picks like Kaden that can just go IH and stall the game, and then they'll be really strong later on.
It definitely turned out that way. You had a third item, Mercurial Scimitar, picked up. I know there's been a lot of talk about the strength of the movement speed buff that it gives once you cleanse abilities off. Talk to me about why you entered in this game, and also, what are some of the other items we should be looking out for on the AD carries you're currently playing?
Oh yeah, so the Mercurial Scimitar pickup was mainly because they had a Leona and a very heavy magic damage team, so that LeBlanc, Eve, and Leona. So it was very assassin-based. I wanted to survive it, so building a Mercurial Scimitar in 4.10, it doesn't really decrease your damage at all because it gives 80 AD now. So you can easily get it as third item, not lose much damage, and gain a ton of survivability. And about new items to look out for, like Reckless already played the Ruined King into Ghostblade build. It's very strong. Getting IH third, Last Whisper fourth, gives you very high damage output and scaling throughout the game.
I want to quickly ask about the support itemization. We're seeing different routes. Nif obviously still going for the Crucible in this game, once again, obviously because of the heavy CC. We're seeing some of the other supports going for the likes of Aegis of the Legion. How much has the support itemization changed in 4.10 as well?
So before 4.10, everyone would just get a Michaels because the item was really cheap and very strong in every situation. Even if you didn't need the cleanse, the heal was really strong. So now we see the Ardent Sensor sometimes, Aegis being picked up. It's more situational what the supports build, and they can adapt better.
Let's talk more about the optimization in the patch, but then look at this game as well, because as you said, you had the Caitlyn, you were building up to your Infinity Edge. How many times do you look at the items of the opposing AD carry? Because Lucian actually went BF Sword first, and you mentioned how you have to wait for those power spikes to come in. Did you see that, and how did you react?
Well, I knew I would outscale him eventually if he went for the Infinity Edge, because Caitlyn's range in late game is ridiculous. So you can outscale a Lucian that goes the same build. So I was like, it's no problem. I'll just go mid and keep farming, and eventually we'll reach that point.
Well, that leads us very nicely onto a replay that I'd like to actually pull up onto the screen. It is a dragon fight, but you guys end up trading 1-for-1. Let's take a look at this dragon fight and talk to me. You guys start the dragon out. What were the comms like? How were you reacting as we roll this one through?
Okay, so first off, we notice they're out of position, we go for Dragon. Now they engage on us, we kite back to the right. Me and Frog and try to stay together and just focus the first guy who just jacks here. And now Eve overextends and just gets poked down. Now they're all very low, but Frog still has his ult, I think, so he can chase. So now we chase the Evelyn, and I think I just flash on him and kill him later. Like here, we try to kill Lucian, but we don't have enough damage. And now I just flash on the Eve and we kill her.
At what item threshold are you just like, I'm terrifying on Kate? Is it really just IE and Shiv, and that's it, you're all in?
Yeah, after 2 items, you start scaling upwards really hard, especially because every BF item is 80 AD now, so you can hit some ridiculous AD damage point. Like I had 450 AD at one point, and it's just you crit for 1k.
Talk me through one other pick maybe that you guys came out with as you guys were up against the LeBlanc one more time. And people said, well, now the silence is removed. It might not be so good versus Twisted Fate, but Froggen seemed very confident, obviously, but still, Curb coming up very strong.
Yeah, so Curb did pretty well. Like, if LeBlanc still gets rolling, like she can still kill TF because she still has the same damage, she just doesn't have the silence. So if TF is slightly ahead or even, he can counterplay by picking cards while she's trying to jump him.
It definitely worked out that way. I do feel like we're throwing a whole lot of questions at you. Thank you for dealing with them. One final question is, if we step back, Alliance is now 11-2 on the split. You guys are absolutely playing out of your minds. How do you keep this level up, considering there's a Super Week next week and Worlds and playoffs around the corner?
Yeah, we just have to keep practicing really hard and try to come up with new strategies, new picks, adapt to the new patch all the time. So we're doing a lot of thinking and just trying to figure out what our next step should be.
All right, well, it's always fun to pick your brain, Tabs, and we also picked the brain of the people at home, and at the start of the show, we asked you to pull out your tweets and let us know which European LCS player has had the biggest impact so far on this split and why. And here's what you had to say. The first one is from @Heckmeister. Easily, it is Tabs. He's never been a flashy AD carry who impresses up front, but at no moment does he ever disappoint. Must be fun to hear.
Care to respond?
Yeah, actually, I think playing aggressive as AD carry is very good, especially in Season 4. You can just flash forward and get kills without putting yourself in a bad position. So I try to play as aggressive as I can.
Oh, we like to see that. The second one is from @YoungJinxie. It has to be Cotnex. He's breathed life back into Millennium and stepped up to fill Arenea's shoes well. And I gotta say, even when Millennium doesn't win, his presence is always there.
I completely agree, and I would dare say not only has he filled Arenea's shoes, he's exceeded them. We talked about the win-loss ratio. Before Cotnex joined, it was 9 wins, 17 losses. Now it's 9 wins, 10 losses. So you're closer to that 50-50 for Millennium.
The last round is at Anders TV Yellow Star. Despite Fnatic's recent inconsistency, Bora remains a bastion of stability for his team. Tabs, you've played against him a lot. Solid support.
Yeah, he's really good.
He landed a whole lot of death sentences today.
Absolutely great game from him. Well, thank you very much for those answers, and we'll see how those players perform in the rest of the summer split. Remember to follow us at LOL Esports and use the hashtag LCS to join in on the conversation. Well, thank you very much, Tabs. As for us, we've got to recall back to base for a quick break, but we'll be right back as the Super Hot crew faces off against Gambit Gaming on the field of justice.
What can I say? I am gold.
Cornex is actually going to go low, finished off by the gold card, and now Froggen and Tab's going to focus towards Creatine. Have they got the damage? Solar Flare comes down, they do manage to get themselves the second. Can they have the third as well? They will now. Alliance together, Baron. Jerry's going to be picked up for the side. Baron helping them out even further, as Creatine will also fall here in a second. Are they going to go any deeper? Jerry's actually going to come back in. They're going to surely kill off Kevin to the side, who's actually doing good job on towards Shook.